The country music world was shaken to its core, with news that landed like a thunderclap. Conservative firebrand Charlie Kirk had died unexpectedly. Within moments, social media lit up with reactions that could not have been more different. Some were filled with condolences and grief, some were silent, while others spoke with raw fire in their voices. Yet the shock wasn't only about his passing. It was about who chose to speak, and how. One by one, names like Willie Nelson, Dolly Parton, Jason Aldean, and Morgan Wallen came forward, peeling back the curtain on years of quiet tensions, whispered conversations, and unlikely alliances. Suddenly, the entire country music world had to confront a haunting reality. How do you mourn someone you may have disagreed with, but still respected for standing his ground? Charlie Kirk's death was not just another headline. It felt like a lightning strike, tearing across the wide-open plains of country music. To understand why the response was so fierce and divided, you had to understand what Charlie had meant to this genre, and what this genre has always meant to America. For generations, country music carried an unspoken promise to its fans: faith, patriotism, and grit. And whether artists liked it or not, Charlie Kirk became a loud and unwavering voice for that trinity. He wasn't a singer. He never strummed a guitar on the Opry stage. But he showed up at CMA events. He shared album covers with his millions of followers, and he praised the songs about small towns, pickup trucks, and unapologetic pride in God and country. Over time, he turned himself into a cultural anchor for a certain kind of listener. The kind who still buys physical CDs, who waves flags at concerts, who treats country music not as entertainment, but as the soundtrack of their lives. That created an unavoidable problem, because not every artist wanted to be dragged into politics. Jason Aldean leaned toward embracing it. Maren Morris openly resisted. And then there were artists like Morgan Wallen, caught in the middle, trying to survive storms without fully taking sides. Charlie's voice added fuel to every controversy. When Wallen was slammed for using a racial slur, Kirk defended him unapologetically. When Aldean came under attack for "Try That in a Small Town," Kirk amplified the video until it became a cultural battle cry. By the time of his death, Charlie had left behind not just a following, but a fracture. That fracture was about to be exposed in full view of the world. Jason Aldean was the first major artist to speak publicly, and he didn't hold back. Within hours of the announcement, he posted a black and white photo of Charlie with the caption, "He spoke for millions." Whether you agreed with him or not, he stood his ground. That matters. Rest easy, brother. That single post detonated across the internet. Thousands of fans filled the comments with prayers, Bible verses, American flags, and words of support. But the backlash was just as fierce. Critics accused Aldean of politicizing death, of inflaming division, of risking his career for loyalty to a figure many found too controversial. But Aldean had been through the fire before. After the storm over "Try That in a Small Town," he had grown used to being a lightning rod between patriotism and provocation. This, however, felt different to him. It wasn't politics. It was personal. Charlie had been there for him when few others were. When mainstream outlets tried to bury his song, Kirk defended him every night on his platform, pushing the track back up the charts. When Aldean was branded reckless, Charlie called him the last real outlaw in country music. To Jason, that loyalty meant everything. Days later, in an Instagram live session, he said it plainly. Say what you want about Charlie, but he didn't hide. He believed in America, in freedom, in standing tall when the mob came. I respected that, still do. It wasn't just a tribute. It was a warning, a signal that silence was no longer an option. Meanwhile, Dolly Parton, at 79, approached the moment with her signature grace. Days after the announcement, she shared a simple message. "In times of great division, I choose to pray for peace. May all hearts find comfort and understanding, no matter where they stood." She didn't mention Charlie's name. She didn't invoke politics. She chose compassion. Yet even Dolly's soft touch drew fire. Some praised her for staying above the storm. Others accused her of cowardice. Conservative fans demanded she acknowledge Charlie directly, pointing out how much he loved her music. Progressive critics said even her silence was a political act. Behind the scenes, insiders revealed that Dolly was heartbroken, not so much about Charlie himself, but about what his death had done to the community she loved. She hated to see people torn apart in a time that should have brought them together. But in today's climate, not choosing was still a choice. Even Dolly, who had built her career on unity, was dragged into the noise. Her peace became its own kind of thunder. Then came Morgan Wallen. Few expected him to say anything. For years, he had walked carefully between comeback and controversy. But his response stunned even his closest fans. He posted a short, unpolished video. No caption, no filter. Just Morgan, sitting in a hotel room, eyes red, voice low. "I didn't know Charlie the way some folks did," he began, "but I watched him more than people might guess. And whether you liked him or hated him, he made you think. He made me think. And we don't have a lot of that anymore." He paused, swallowed, and then admitted something unexpected. "When I was going through my worst moment, getting canceled, getting dropped, I saw Charlie on his podcast. He said, 'People make mistakes, but if we kill every man who stumbles, we'll have no men left standing.' That stuck with me. I never forgot it." The video lasted less than a minute, but in those seconds, Wallen pulled back the curtain on pain, guilt, and the comfort he had found in Charlie's defiance. The clip racked up millions of views in hours. Then it vanished. Wallen deleted it without explanation. Fans were divided. Was it too raw, too personal, too risky? Regardless, the message had landed. For once, it wasn't PR polished. It was human, and that made it powerful. As days passed, the impact only deepened. Jason Aldean doubled down, booking shows in heartland towns where fans sang with defiance and pride. His concerts became less about politics and more about belonging. At one stop, asked why he kept performing through the backlash, he simply said, "Because this music, your music, can't stop." The words hit like a sermon. Meanwhile, Dolly posted a handwritten note. "I didn't know Charlie personally, and I don't pretend to understand all he believed. But I do believe every soul matters to God. I pray his family finds peace. I hope everyone hushes the noise long enough to remember we're all here for a short while." Her message, tender but unflinching, was met with mixed reactions, too soft for some, too legitimizing for others. But the small detail that never made the headlines was perhaps most telling. She privately called one of Charlie's closest friends, asking only, "How's his mama doing?" It wasn't for show, it was for love. Inside the industry, however, the fallout was unavoidable. The Grand Ole Opry, once considered sacred and above the fray, faced mounting pressure. Leaked memos showed executives urging silence to avoid politicizing the stage. But younger artists rebelled. One newcomer closed her late-night Opry slot with an unscheduled tribute, whispering, "For Charlie, for hope," before walking off. Willie Nelson, still sharp at 91, offered a quiet but firm challenge at a Texas event. "It's not about Charlie. It's about what we do when someone dies speaking their truth. Do we bury them with silence, or do we listen?" Morgan Wallen added a silent photo of Charlie to his tour montage. Jason Aldean reportedly began working on a tribute single. Even Dolly admitted on television, sometimes staying quiet can be just as wrong. In the end, Charlie Kirk never sang a note of country music, but his death echoed like a song across the genre. The reactions revealed a fault line too deep to ignore. Some fans saw him as a martyr. Others saw him as a divider. But all agreed that country music had changed. The genre was no longer just boots, beer, and backroads. It was about where you stood and what price you were willing to pay for standing there. For some, his passing was tragedy. For others, it was a reckoning. And for everyone, it was undeniable proof that silence was over. Whether loved or hated, Charlie Kirk made country music speak. And now, it could never return to whispering. Rest in peace, Charlie. Prayers go out to his family, friends, and those who carry his memory.